All right.
Well, according to the Organic Institute website, it was until the 1920s that agriculture was known as organic. And this started changing around the Second World War when there was a demand for food, because not only was the country responsible for feeding the people in the country, but they were also responsible for sending people overseas. And it was at around that time that they started doing research on chemicals designed as nerve gas that showed that they were also capable of killing insects. So it came around 1939 when Paul Mueller developed DDT, which is a pesticide that was very useful when it came to preventing plants from getting pests and therefore increase the yield. But then around the 1970s, when, like, as many of us know as the hippie era or the natural movement, people became more concerned with health and also the environment. Well, based on this brief history and background on organic and conventional farming, it is my proposition that organically grown food has no superiority in comparison to conventionally grown food. Well, today I will show you that organic food has no nutritional superiority over conventional grown food. Secondly, conventionally grown food is not less safe to consume than organically grown food. And thirdly, that conventional farming is not more harmful to the environment than organic farming. In this Food Safety News on September 2012, Miller wrote an article about a study that was done from the Annals of Intermediate Medicine, and this study was basically to prove if organic food was more nutritional than conventionally grown food. Well, there are many reasons why people choose to buy organic food, but the main reason is because it is quoted to be healthier. But this study proved that organic food is actually not more nutritious than conventionally grown food. This study conducted by the scientists of the Annals from Internal Medicine used actually 17 human studies, and there was a total of 223 studies on nutrient density and contamination levels. And like I said, they found that organic food has no more nutritional superiority over conventionally grown food. Well, for my second point, that organic food is not safer than conventionally grown food, is demonstrated by Goldberg's July 2000 article from the Hypocrisy of Organic Farmers. Goldberg is actually a botanist who claims that a plant is a plant, and what he basically means is that no matter what means the food is used to be produced, they will have the same nutritional value. And what he means is that, for example, you buy a cantaloupe, regardless of if it's organic or not, you wash it, you peel it, and you eat it, and the fruit is basically going to have the same amount of nutrients and it's going to be just as safe as organic or non-organic. And for my third point, that conventional farming is not more harmful to the environment than organic farming, we actually have an article from Health and Science written by Palmer in 2012. He writes, part of a product's environmental impact is that the amount and space required to produce it. After all, if a plot of land weren't required to produce corn or avocados or pigs, it could be used for environmentally helpful purposes, such as habitats for wild animals or carbon-eating plants or land for solar panels and wild farms. So because organic farming requires more land, it could be possible that organic farming could take away the land from wild boars or animals like that require their own land. So taking away that land would actually destroy ecosystems that we have. So to conclude, I hope that I demonstrated my proposition that organically grown food has no superiority in comparison to conventionally grown food by showing you that one, organic food has no nutritional superiority over conventionally grown food. Secondly, that conventionally grown food is not less safe to consume than organically grown food. And thirdly, that conventional farming is not more harmful to the environment than organic farming is. Thank you.
All right, structurally everything is pretty solid. You have the proposition clearly labeled. There's a good preview. I did see a little bit of a problem because your first point is basically the same thing as the proposition. It's not even rephrased. It basically makes the same claim, so I'm not sure why it's its own separate point there. On the first point, you are on each of the points, as a matter of fact, you have a piece of evidence for the most part that you're reasoning from, and sometimes the evidence is very convincing. You've got on that first point the studies that you cite. It's one study that sounds like it was doing a collective view of all of the studies, seeing whether or not there is a significant difference, and that was a pretty good piece of evidence, but that's the only evidence that you've got there. The same thing on the second point is you've got an authority, and they kind of explain themselves, but all you have is that one authority, and there's not really any discussion of what challenges have been made or what criticisms have been suggested about the safety of the food. And the fact that the guy says a plant is a plant, well, I'm glad that he thinks so, but does anybody else agree? Are there people who are raising other issues, suggesting that there is some kind of problem with non-organic sorts of food, contamination, any of those sorts of things? It seems very thin, the argument here. It doesn't go very deep. It's an okay argument, but it needs, I think, a little bit more development. And that's the problem on each of the points. I think that you've got a good piece of information on each point, but you're relying on just that one piece of information to make each of those points. Organizationally, like I said, internal signposts are pretty good. The evidence is where there's a little bit of thinness, and so reaching the conclusions that you're making, I'm not sure I feel confident in the conclusions. Without any refutation, I would say, okay, I would accept this conclusion, but I'm anticipating that the respondent's going to have a lot of information on these points, and any kind of information could easily put this in a situation where it's in doubt. I don't want to pick on people because it's just one of those things, but when I was in high school, I think I once accidentally in a speech used the term the Marine Corps, and that's completely wrong. A Marine Corps is a dead Marine. It's the Marine Corps, and it's just a pronunciation mistake. So when I'm pointing this out, everybody makes those mistakes, and I'm just letting you know. It's the annals of internal medicine, not the annals of internal medicine. The annals of internal medicine is something a lot dirtier and unpleasant. So you want to watch out for that kind of stuff. All right.